Mythical monsters from the deep. Jormungandr. The Jormungandr is a creature that literally holds the fate of the universe between its teeth. Jormungandr is the Midgard Serpent, a child of giants and son of Loki, making him a direct enemy of the gods. And there is plenty to make Jormungandr unpopular, but the most fearful thought is that Jormungandr could cause Ragnarok at any time. And if the beginning of the end doesn't scare you, then perhaps the intricacies of how the fate of the universe is held together will. The only thing holding off impending doom is that Jormungandr wrapped himself around Midgard and held his tail in his mouth. It is this single action by Jormungandr that is holding the world together and keeping the end times at bay. The Umibozu.
Umibozu means sea and Buddhist monk, and it refers to a creature in Japanese folklore that you don't want to meet on the high seas. The Umibozu are the spirits of priests who have drowned at sea, and these vengeful spirits have a bone to pick with anyone who disrespects them in their ocean.
They rise from the ocean depths as a giant human head with a shaved scalp and an unnerving perpetual smile. And they have one mission if you wrong them by uttering disrespect. You, your sea mates, and ship will be sent to the ocean floor permanently. An angered Umibozu aims to capsize a ship and watch the seamen drown. His strategy of destruction is to ask the captain for a barrel, and then he scoops up seawater with the barrel and pours it onto the boat to sink it. He would then steal the souls of the sailors. It's a pretty psycho strategy to kill his victims with its own tools. The strategy is easily derailed, though, and clever crews readied a bottomless barrel to hand over to Umibozu. That way, when the smiling priest started scooping up the water, his efforts were futile.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload.
Vodyanoy. This male water spirit goes by many names. Vodyanoy, which is from Slavic mythology, Vidnik in Czech fairy tales, and Wassermann in German fairy tales. By any name, the makeup of the Vodyanoy is the same, a naked old man, resembling a frog, with a green beard, long hair, and a body with black scales covered in swamp, gunk, and algae. This frog man has webbed paws where his hands belong, a fishtail, and fierce eyes like red-hot coals. His mode of transport? A log, half sunk below the surface, that he rides atop, splashing as he goes. He is to blame for local drownings, which locals referred to as the work of Vodyanoy, or grandfather, another of his pseudonyms. Don't anger the grandfather, though, as he will break dams in vengeance, drown people or animals, and wash down watermills. He takes victims to his underwater lair to serve him as slaves. Many millers, fishermen, and beekeepers are so superstitious about Vodyanoy that they offer sacrifices to avoid his wrath. Leviathan. The Leviathan owes its roots to Christianity. It's a sea monster and one of the first creatures to be created by Yahweh. Originally, Yahweh created Leviathan as a gentle sea creature that would roam the oceans with his partner, but he became corrupt and began to revel in causing chaos and destruction. To save the world, Yahweh chose to destroy the female Leviathan, so that the evil creature could not reproduce. The single male Leviathan then roamed the oceans, causing mayhem alone, drumming up a reputation as the most feared monster in history. His artillery of torture tactics included an arsenal of dragon fire-breathing abilities and immortality. He would boil the water around him until it boiled his sailor victims alive. Anyone who saw Leviathan was cursed to die, and no one who has seen him has lived to tell the tale. Scylla. Another terror to encounter when passing through the Strait of Messina is Scylla. Initially, Scylla was a beautiful naiad, water nymph from Greek mythology, who stole the heart of many suitors. And when Poseidon saw her, he decided he would take her for his own. The versions of her monstrosity do differ. Some describe her as having kept her beautiful maiden good looks from the waist up, and below that, her body transformed into a six-headed dog with a serpent's tail. The dog's hungry to devour any man in her path as revenge for her fate. Other descriptions are that of a monster with 4 eyes and 6 necks, each with a dog's head that was laden with razor-sharp shark's teeth. Other accounts of her are a 12-tentacled sea creature with a cat's tail. Either way you look at it, a voyage through the Strait of Messina was made more nerve-wracking knowing that not only the whirlpools of Charybdis were a hazard, but that Scylla and her 6 hungry dog heads were awaiting your wrong move. A sacrifice of 6 men to Scylla's hungry dogs was known to secure safe passage through the strait. Kraken. The difference between the Kraken and other mythical creatures on this list is that the Kraken actually exists. Perhaps the real living giant squids aren't as vengeful as the maritime myth of the Kraken, because nothing strikes fear in a sailor like the thought of a vicious Kraken climbing the ship's masts to capsize and sink it. The origin of the Kraken dates to a giant fish that featured in Norse mythology, called the Hafgufa. The Kraken, the Titanic-sized octopus squid, was reportedly spotted by fishermen off the coasts of Norway and Greenland. In the 18th century, Bishop Eric Pontoppidan recorded a squid-like beast so large that its body resembled a floating island when just a single part of its body was exposed above the surface. Other than its ship-ensnaring tentacles that could drag a ship to the ocean floor, the Kraken could also create deadly whirlpools by submerging itself underwater, showing its vengeful personality and bloodlust for sailors.
Back to reality and away from the myths, paleontologists have found evidence that has argued that the prehistoric oceans were once home to 100-foot-long cephalopods that would have fed on whale-sized ichthyosaurs. So perhaps the Kraken versus Moby Dick isn't a far-fetched concept after all.
Sirens. The most beautiful of mythical sea monsters are also the most dangerous and feared among mariners the world over. These mind-controlling mermaids have plagued sea men since the ancient tales of Greek mythology. Jason and the Argonauts and Odysseus have all fallen prey to the siren's call. In these depictions, the siren is part woman, part bird. Other depictions are of a woman with a fishtail. What both have in common is an undeniable beauty that traps men in a trance with their siren song. Sea Bishop. The sea bishop, or bishop fish, might not strike fear in you, but he will most certainly leave you with a blessing you won't forget. The curious half-man, half-fish bears a striking resemblance to a Catholic bishop. Legend goes that when this mythical sea monster was caught, it was taken to the king of Poland, who in turn assembled a group of Catholic bishops to witness the strange sight. The bishops took the creature to the ocean to release it once more, and it made a sign of the cross to bless the group, and then plopped into the water and swam away into the waves. The bishop fish has been written into several pieces of literature, in its original form as well as a sea monk, a fish with a monk-like appearance. Another was said to be caught in Germany in 1531, but this one wasn't so fortunate. It was kept in a glass case filled with water but refused to eat. It died after 3 days in captivity, and there are no remains left to prove this tall tale.
Which of these mythical monsters was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below.
1. Charybdis. If you dared to pass through the Strait of Messina, you might be in for a nasty surprise. The Greeks believed that it was home to an anger-driven sea monster with an insatiable thirst for ocean water. The monster, Charybdis, is chained under a rock on one side of the Messina Channel, and as sailors and warriors passed through the strait, she terrorized them, sinking their massive Greek ships. They believed her gaping mouth swallowed huge amounts of water 3 times a day, while the suction from her swallowing caused massive whirlpools. Charybdis is the daughter of Poseidon and Gaia, but Zeus turned her into a terrible sea monster with a curse for a thirst of the sea. Other legends state that Charybdis was just a local name given to whirlpools that occurred naturally in the strait in one specific location every time, but they aren't of a scale that would have affected the big Greek ships of the era, so perhaps the sea monster Charybdis, with her giant whirlpools, holds some water.